Hello and welcome back to my channel. For this card, I am using several on Fawn products starting with Tiny Spring Friends in the Tiny Friends stamp sets. Also stamping some of them in the jellyfish ink. I stamped the little bunny girl from the spring set just in the regular black ink, and then the other ones I stamped in jellyfish ink because I am going to create costumes for them. I am hoping that Lawn Fawn releases a Halloween or fall Tiny Friends. I think that would be the cutest. To start with, I made the little girl into a witch, and I am making this little boy into a dinosaur. And these obviously will just be costumes. When I looked at the top 3 costumes, it was witch, rabbit, and dinosaur. Alright, so here I am taking my black fine liner and I am going over my little pencil lines as well as the lines of the stamp that I actually wanted to keep. My liner is Copic friendly. If it wasn't, I would just color it first and then use my fine liner to trace the lines I was keeping. Now here, it's not perfect. I did actually get one of his feet a little bit bigger, but I didn't figure you would notice it too much, and you can always just imagine that it's turned or something. Now here for my little witch, I actually had to redraw this one a few times. Unfortunately, my lines also are not perfect. I have a really hard time with these tiny little lines, and I do not have a super steady hand. Luckily, when you color these in, you don't really notice all the sort of wavy lines and things. Now once my ink is dry, I do take an eraser to it to erase any of my pencil marks. Now I'm going to move on to my coloring. If you don't want to watch this, you can skip to about 8 minutes and 28 seconds, and at that point I will have moved on to something else in the card. I'm not going to talk a lot through this for a couple reasons. And one is, if you can't tell from my voice, I am sick and I am having a little bit of trouble breathing when I talk a lot. So I'm going to only keep it to the important parts today. As I was coloring the little bunny girl, I did wish that I had stamped her in jellyfish ink too and changed her outfit up a little bit, but I didn't, and it's not a bad thing. I just would have probably given her like a onesie style outfit instead of a dress. The only hand-drawn details I add here is the whiskers and then the little nose. For the colors that I knew I was going to do my house, I have cool grays and warm grays. I also have a G set and a B set, as well as some E43s and 44s for the window that's boarded up. But I actually did have to bring in a purple, and I don't think I show that color combination, but it's V15, V17, and BV08, I believe. I wanted to add some amount of color to the houses, but I didn't want them to be so distracting. I wanted the characters to still stand out just a little bit more. Now here I have one of these Sakura Stardust pins or something like that. I don't know, it's kind of glittery. I'm going to go over the spider webs with it just to add a little bit of detail to them. And now I'm going to take my black glaze pen and I'm going to go over just the spider bodies as well as the doorknobs. This is optional. I just wanted to do it because on the purple door especially, the doorknob kind of got lost. Moving on, the base of my card is going to be this platform pop-up, and I have cut everything from black, and I'm also going to use the platform pop-up add-on, and I'm going to cut that back panel. Now that my base is assembled, I am going to take the little window, I'm not even sure what you would call these, just little detail panels, and I'm going to ink them up with black soot, villainous potion, picked raspberry, and spiced marmalade. Now this is a very small area, so you do have to be pretty careful with blending the colors because you will lose something. I know 4 colors is a lot for this, and I do have smaller little ink brushes, but I chose to stick with the bigger ones just to make it faster. and some of the colors on a couple of the smaller panels, they kind of run in together a lot and you don't really get a distinction between the pink and the orange. Because these areas are so tiny and I'm using a large brush, I am going sort of up and down instead of like in a circular motion to blend, and this is just helping me control where I put it just a little bit better. It's these pieces down here that I tended to have a little bit more problems with while I was blending. Alright, now here I have my Ganzai Tombi pearl colors, and I'm just splattering them along my background panels to make them look like a starry night sky. Moving that off to the side to dry, I then bring in all my little grass panels, and some of these are for the main, like, T-shapes, you know, the base that all the things will set on, and then other ones I cut out from those same square and rectangle dies just to give the little sky backgrounds a little something else. So you seen I inked them up with Forest Moss Distress ink, well, oxide ink, and then I splattered with that same color, and now I'm going to mix some Rustic Wilderness in with the Forest Moss just to give it a little bit more color variation in the splatters. And here you can see what I was talking about when I said I used that same grass die to cut the squares and the rectangles. I just took those rectangle and square dies and I placed the little grass dies on top and cut it. And that way it has the same stitched border as the rectangles. Now I'm just using liquid glue to adhere them down to the pop-up platform. I'm going to do the same with the background here. Just pop those into place. Then I will move on to adding the little grassy hills on the inside of my platform. Now that the back panel is attached, I can figure out where I want all my pieces to go. So I decided along this back panel I would add one of the houses and then the little spooky fence border. So I did that all the way across. And then I decided that one of the sides needs this little tree. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm trying to make it so that there's enough interest in every part of the card that doesn't really get completely hidden by everything else on the card. So I do tend to turn this left to right a lot as I'm looking at it to sort of see how much of the elements I can see straight versus slightly turned one way or the other. And you'll see at the end of the video, I show you different angles of the card. I decided to attach my little trick-or-treaters to the front of the card, or I guess the first grassy hill, not the very front. I'm keeping this very simple, and something I should have done, oh well, I guess I still didn't do it at this point. Before now, I really should have put my sentiment on the front panel, but I didn't. I was too busy trying to get my little scene built. But here I just have some clear acetate that I have made into tiny strips, and I'm attaching double-sided tape to the bottom on the front side so that I can adhere it to the back of some of my houses and things so that I can pop the little bats up. Now is when I finally decided I should work on that sentiment. So I have my Versamark ink, some white embossing powder by Ranger, and I am using my anti-static powder bag on top of the little rectangle that I'm going to emboss on. And I have a trick-or-treat sentiment. This one came from, I don't remember which Lawn Fawn stamp set it is. It might be Costume Party. If that was the case, it's the only one I used from that set. You can make whatever sentiment you want. But here I'm just heat setting it, and then after that my card is complete. Thank you all so much for watching. I will be back with another video soon. Bye!